The situations portrayed in this program are very dangerous. They have been performed by trained professionals in order to replicate worst-case scenarios of real-life hazards. Viewers should not, under any circumstances, attempt to replicate any of the situations presented in the program. Coming up on House Hazards. Items meant to protect you from danger are put to the test. A fire extinguisher
In 3, 2,
gets red hot. And a panic room designed for safety
Dan, I suggest you back away from the door.
is put in the line of fire. Home, sweet home. Well, not as sweet as you might think. Your house is really out to get you. There are thousands of hazards hiding in every home, and our team of experts will separate the fiction from the facts so you can avoid domestic meltdown. Scientist Francesca will expose the hidden dangers lurking in every home. Engineer Dan will show you how everyday appliances can turn from labor-saving to life-threatening. And special effects expert Brendan will recreate the worst-case scenario. The Panic Room. A fortified space designed and built to protect you and your loved ones from intruders. But with a price tag running as high as $500,000, the Hazard team wants to ensure this isn't a danger in disguise.
So we've been seeing a lot of hazards that come from inanimate object or from inside your home. But we haven't looked at one very important hazard. Hazards from outside your home, from other people. That's why I've decided to make a DIY panic room made out of stuff that pretty much everybody has at their disposition. Some cinder blocks, a little bit of cement, some rebar, and an old fridge door. This is my fortress. Nothing's getting through this.
In North America, there are over 1,000 home invasions every day.
Are you ready?
So ready.
All right.
Brendan. Window.
Okay, fine. Go.
But instead of letting people escape, the panic room locks people up.
You'll never get me in here, criminals!
And only a wall separates them from danger.
Come on, Dan, it's just us.
Who's us?
It's the only two friends you have.
You think that's gonna keep us out here?
Please, try to get in here. I've got cinder blocks and a solid steel door.
Dan, we're gonna show you why this is a hazard.
I dare ya.
Pretty sure I could just kick this door open and save us all the effort. Dan, I suggest you back away from the door.
I'm not too worried. Ooh, that tickled. Ooh!
Can I go get my sledgehammer?
Yeah, I'll work on this.
I think Dan has seriously overestimated the strength of his cinder blocks. I'm gonna get in there with nothing more than a sledgehammer. This is gonna work.
Now locked inside, Dan is in a tight spot. His only option? Wait for Brendan and Francesca to give up or break in. Before locking himself up, Dan sat down with Brendan to enjoy a cookout.
How do you like your marshmallow?
I like a nice golden brown. My grandfather taught me how to roast marshmallows.
Did he?
But you know what happens when boys get around a campfire. Nothing good. 74% of camping injuries are campfire related, and their severity depends on what's burning.
This is your typical campfire. It's good for roasting marshmallows and not really all that hard to put out. All you need is a good water fire extinguisher. And that's that. This is a grease fire with motor oil and vegetable oil. Much more hazardous and extremely hard to put out. But you can't put this out with a water extinguisher, so I'm gonna use a CO2 extinguisher. The CO2 will displace the oxygen, choking the fire. And that's that.
With the right extinguisher for the right fire, 80% of all fires can be put out without involving the fire department. But what about those objects that don't just burn? They explode.
Whoa, you want to put shotgun shells in the fire?
Yes, I do.
A shotgun shell is a plastic casing filled with an explosive material called cordite, tiny steel balls, and a primer. When the primer is struck, it ignites the cordite. The cordite expands, pushing the steel balls through the chamber of the shotgun, firing them in the direction the gun is pointed. By putting the ammunition in the fire, effects expert Brendan is leaving them free to explode in any direction.
You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, dude. Here we go.
This seems like a dumb thing to do, and it is. But this is what can happen when ammunition is kept unlocked and not safely stored. Brendan's shotgun shells are now resting in a fire burning anywhere between 300 and 600 degrees Celsius. As soon as the plastic casing melts, the cordite will instantly explode.
That one's pointed right at us.
Then we should be careful.
Just like gunpowder, cordite is called a low explosive because its explosion velocity is slower than the speed of sound, and its force dissipates quickly. It may not be fast, but the pellets are still red hot and could easily take out an eye.
We're seeing some shot all over the deck, but in the end, not really that hazardous.
Sort of hazardous. It's molten balls of red hot metal.
Please, all you did was damage our furniture with this. This is not hazardous.
Do better.
Oh, I'll show you.
Like the young pyros across North America responsible for over 11,000 blazes a year, Brendan and Dan are pushing the limits of what you can put into a campfire.
There you go.
Were you gonna put it out?
No, fire extinguisher in the fire. That's a hazard. Bring in the blast shield!
Home fire extinguishers aren't just safety devices, they're also pressurized gas canisters that expand when heated. And Dan wants to know if this could make them lethal.
So I think we need to get the fire at about 500 degrees Celsius to get the best blow out of this thing.
What's it at now?
I'm seeing 400,
490 I saw there.
490.
I'll get it a little hotter. Is that hot enough?
Plenty hot.
How about a little bigger?
We're off the scale. We're good.
Little bigger?
No, we're fine.
Little tiny bit bigger?
We're good.
You sure?
We've got our 500. No problem.
Okay.
Ready, Brendan?
I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
For each degree the canister climbs in temperature, the pressure inside rises by a factor of 10.
Well, on the which was scarier scale, I still say shotgun shells.
Special effects expert Brendan's superheated shotgun shells could easily have caused serious bodily injury.
Those fire extinguishers you keep next to your stove, you can keep them there safely for a reason.
Because this extinguisher uses a plastic nozzle, the pressure couldn't build to its explosive potential. Had this been an industrial extinguisher with a stronger nozzle, this could have been a much more violent explosion. Allow Dan to demonstrate. Using the same experiment as before, Dan is going to put out an electronics fire.
Now in this fire, I'm gonna have some lithium batteries. This is a combustible metal, and once it gets going, there's not a whole lot that can put it out. So I'm gonna need a special foam extinguisher.
The foam is designed to smother the fire, preventing oxygen from further fueling the reaction that burns up the electronics.
Now normally fire extinguishers are canisters under pressure. Instead of pressurizing this one, I'm gonna give it a sudden burst of pressure with a black powder bomb that I've waterproofed.
Under normal pressure, an industrial extinguisher has a constant force of 195 psi. But the pressure can build up to 2,000 psi, making it more like a missile ready for launch.
In 3, 2, 1. Now, this may not be the traditional way of using a fire extinguisher, but it got the job done.
When the canister explodes, it releases foam all over the fire, snuffing it out. Brendan and Francesca have a job to finish too. Dan is walled up inside a panic room.
Ooh, that tickled.
Brendan has a test to see how well those walls hold up.
I'm really not worried. I built this panic room out of cinder blocks and cement and rebar. Those walls can take 4,000 PSI. I doubt that any of them can muster up that kind of strength. Bring it!
All right, knock, knock.
Who's there? I'm sorry?
Cinder blocks are impossible to make without cracks and air bubbles. So builders compensate by using iron rods called rebar, which are then encased in concrete. Very difficult to break.
Brendan! Brendan!
What?
I want to try.
You guys are gonna be at this all day.
Shut up, Dan!
Frankie, Frankie, this is taking too long.
Look, we're like an inch in.
There's got to be a quicker way. What if we tried going through the door
With a shotgun.
with the shotgun? Can we get a shotgun?
I got a shotgun.
Let's get the shotgun. Okay.
We're coming for you, Dan.
Whoa.
Brendan and Francesca have set their sights on the lock, which they'll attack from the safety of another room.
All right, beautiful.
But Dan and the panic room meant to protect him are now directly in the line of fire.
All right. I'm coming out.
The situations portrayed in this program are very dangerous. They have been performed by trained professionals in order to replicate worst-case scenarios of real-life hazards. Viewers should not, under any circumstances, attempt to replicate any of the situations presented in the program. An electric fence is the first line of defense against unwelcome guests. Some use enough power to stop a human heart, so you better be sure it's not you that's getting electrified.
This is my store-bought electrical fence. It's powered by a 12-volt DC battery.
When a person touches the fence, the current enters the body, forcing skeletal muscles to contract, and the person can't let go. But Brendan's fence has a regulator, which pulses the current, allowing the person to release his grip.
Gives you a shock, doesn't kill you.
What will kill you is Dan's DIY fence here, which he's built without that regulator. It's a deadly modification that some homeowners make.
If you complete the circuit on this fence, you're gonna end up lighting up like that light bulb.
And human electrocution isn't the only hazard. Any brush, grass, even garbage that touches a fence is a potential fire hazard to property, both outside and in. To prove it, Francesca's placing metal rakes full of highly flammable grasses and herbicides on top of each fence. If the metal sparks, the grasses can easily ignite.
Gentlemen, start your fences.
I don't know about that, dude. That looks so makeshift, I can't see that doing anything.
That's exactly why it's hazardous. I'm surrounded by exposed wire without a regulator and 12 volts DC running through it.
In the same way the pulsing current in Brendan's consumer fence prevented electrocution, it's also keeping it from igniting the debris. But how much of a threat is Dan's DIY fence?
We've got some smoldering.
Okay.
Well, it caught fire.
Okay.
That's a fire.
Okay, that's a fire. This is not so much a fire.
In only a matter of seconds, Dan's homemade electric fence was powerful enough to create a grass fire that's not only a hazard to everything outside, but also anyone unfortunate enough to be inside.
How are you gonna get out of that?
Maybe you should get in.
Maybe that's my cue to leave. Good luck with that.
Brendan and Francesca are trying to prove that a panic room can be compromised. And they've brought along some serious firepower to do it.
It's go time.
Their shotgun is aimed directly at the lock mechanism of the door. If they break it, they get in. Plus, anyone locked inside would be a sitting duck because the gun is also pointed right at them.
All right, ready?
Yeah. Hopefully, it'll blast straight through.
Oh, sorry.
I see a hole through at least the first layer of the door.
Oh, no!
Oh, it's all the way through. This door is still pretty locked, though, eh?
The shotgun blast penetrated both sides of the steel door. But if anyone was still alive inside, they'd be secure. The lock held up.
So we shoot it again and shoot the lock.
It's kind of blind luck. We'll just shoot it, shoot it, and shoot it till we happen to get the lock.
And the problem with that is?
I have a better idea. Okay, bring it in.
Undeterred, Brendan is turning up the pressure, and anyone left inside is about to be flushed out. In the meantime, Francesca has an easier way to pick a lock, and it involves some unlikely tools.
I've just put my sandwich inside this lockbox. I've locked it up with 2 different kinds of padlocks, and I could use the keys to open it, or I could show you some interesting ways to get into these locks.
Padlocks have a shackle, a chamber, and a locking mechanism connected to a lever. To open the lock, the lever must be pulled back, releasing the shackle from the chamber. Whether a key is used or something else, the lock will only open if the lever is moved out of the way.
I'm gonna show you how to open this lock with just a pop can.
Although it might seem impossible, Francesca only needs to cut a tiny piece off the pop can and it turns into a lockpick.
And the important part here is that you have a little tab sticking out the top. Fold it in half. And then I'm gonna jam this little tab into the space between the lock base itself and the latch. And then you do the same for the other side.
With both the tabs and the lock cylinder, all Francesca has to do is rotate them to move the lever and release the shackle.
1 lock down, 1 to go.
Earlier, Francesca picked a padlock with nothing more than an empty pop can.
1 lock down, 1 to go.
Now, she'll try the same thing using compressed air.
The second one, I'm gonna open up using this gas duster. It has compressed air that you use to clean electronic equipment. When you turn it upside down, it releases fluorocarbons, which come out at -60 degrees Celsius, freezing anything it comes into contact to. So I'm gonna spray directly into the key insertion point. Now that the lock is all frosty, I'm gonna hit it with a chisel and a hammer so that when I hit it, it breaks the pins and releases the lock. I need a bigger hammer. Back up. Small hammer didn't work, big hammer didn't work, so now I'm gonna use a socket wrench. Oh! Bam, that is incredible. Next time you go to lock up your valuables, think about the fact that all it took was a pop can or can of duster spray to blow this thing open.
It seems nothing's as secure as you might think. Brendan has a job to finish of his own, and he's come up with an idea on how to flush Dan out of his hiding place.
This is an industrial high-pressure washer. It shoots water at 40,000 PSI. It'll cut through steel, rock, concrete. I don't think Dan's panic room is gonna be much of a challenge.
What is he gonna bring back to try and get through this?
You guys should get back.
Are you kidding me?
Now, did you get a pressure washer?
Now. I mean it, get back.
Brendan will attempt to use a high-pressure washer, a tool used to remove paint and grime and for demolition, which is exactly what Brendan has in mind.
I can smell your defeat.
By shooting water at over 40,000 psi right at the door, Brendan is creating the same effect as erosion does in nature, except a lot faster.
He's cutting through metal with water. I can see an outline. I think he's about halfway through now. You know what? Maybe he's through this sheet side, but it's one sheet of metal, insulation, and then another sheet of metal. So he might actually only be through the first sheet.
He's cut through almost the whole door. Oh, it's coming loose.
Yeah,
Coming
that
loose.
front panel's coming off.
Oh, just hit it.
Oh, it's coming off!
Oh, amazing.
Ah, my panic room.
That was nuts. That was fun, though, eh?
Amazing.
The pressure washer was set at what, 5,000 PSI?
40,000 PSI.
40,000 PSI.
But look at this. You see that?
Yeah. It actually ate through the cinder blocks and chewed through my shelving unit.
Yeah.
You got in the room.
Did you hear that, Brendan? One more time. I missed it.
You got in the room.
We're in.
There's no such thing as an impenetrable room. Given the right tools, someone's gonna get in. What you gotta consider is, are you locking danger out or trapping yourself in?